So I really loved all the stuff in Dorne. Like in Feast of Crows, I wish there was more Dorne because it was very exciting. I really like seeing Dorne's plans. Like you have this kind of image of him being passive, and then you see that he's been like plotting all along. And I'm really excited to see what the Sand Snakes do in King's Landing when they get there on the drum they're going to cause. I'm really, really looking forward to that. And then Quentin, poor little Quentin, off to be one of Dany's suitors. Yeah, you kind of knew that it wasn't going to work out well when he was like, let's capture a dragon. You're all like, that's probably not the best idea. So yeah, poor little Quentin, that didn't really end up well. Speaking of Dany and her suitors, it was very hard to like wrap my brain around of all the people surrounding Dany. Dany and Bran are probably the two characters that get changed most in the show. So there's a lot of people around her that I kind of forgot existed. Like he's not a good knight, but Belwas, the big fat warrior guy. I was like, oh, I remember him, and I like vaguely like him. And I was kind of sad when he almost died from eating the look, because someone like, there's something weirdly endearing about you. But yeah, there's so many people surrounding Dany. It's hard to keep them all straight. All the sellswords and all her suitors. But yeah, I don't like Dany. I used to like Dany. I used to really, really like her. She was so awesome. And then the end of Storm of Swords happens, where she sent Jorah away, and Jorah betrayed her. And I liked it the way they did it in the show better, because understandably, like, it happens instantly. She finds out the truth and sends him away. But in the book, like, she just ruminates on it for a very long time. And then Barristan had a secret as well. And then Barristan apologized and groveled at her feet and like, please, please forgive me. And then when Jorah was given that opportunity, he refused to beg and grovel. And so it was his pride that stopped it. But, like, it wasn't the fact that she was betrayed. And Jorah did nothing. Like, the point where it got to where he could have hurt Dany, he never did it. All he did was love and take care of her. And I hate the way that she treated Jorah. So I haven't liked her since then. And even reading her in this book, I really didn't like her. And she was so stupid. She should have left Mirren. I get why she wanted to stay in Mirren to save her people. But, like, her people aren't the Mirren people. And it wasn't going to end well. She should have took the ship and went to Westeros. And then the guy from Korth, I forgot that he was still alive. Like, again, they changed that. I'm all like, oh, I forgot about you. But yeah, no, whenever I got to a Dany chapter, I was really frustrated. I'm all like, I didn't like reading Dany's chapters. I don't like Dany. She's not a good queen. She's just a kind of bratty teenage girl, and she should be in no position of power to like make decisions like that. Not a fan. And then the next person on my list was Davos. When I was reading Feast of Crows and they're like, oh, Davos is dead now, I'm all like, what? No, he's on the wall with Stannis. He can't be dead. And then when he left Stannis at the wall, I'm like, uh-oh. I'm like, oh, could he actually die? I was really, really nervous. And then they secreted him away, and he is on some secret mission to find Rickon and Asha. I don't know where he went. He disappeared like halfway through. So I'm excited to see what he's doing and where he's going. But yeah, no, Davos, I liked his chapters. I love Davos. He's such an honorable man. That's my favorite trait in the men of Westeros, is their honor. Love me some Davos. So yeah, I liked his chapters, and I'm curious to see what he's doing now. I'm really looking forward to that. And then poor Sir Kevan. As Lannisters go, Sir Kevan wasn't that bad. I mean, he was Lord Tywin's right-hand man, and you could hate him for that. But he would have been a good leader for King's Landing for the moment, till all the people come and try to take over. He would have been a good leader. So I was kind of a little bit bummed when he got killed. When Varys showed up at the end, I'm like, oh shit. I was like, oh, I mean, the only good Lannister is a dead Lannister, aside from Tyrion. So I was like, oh, I have mixed feelings, because you're a Lannister, so I'm happy you're dead, but also, you weren't that bad of a dude. But yeah, I was really, really, on the other hand, super excited about Master Pycelle finally dying. Oh, that bugger, I'm so glad that he's finally dead. But yeah, no, I felt a little bit bad about poor little Sir Kevan. And then that makes me wonder what that means for Cersei and how she's probably going to try and rise up again. It's kind of an admirable trait that even after all that, she still refuses to back down. Still hate her, but kind of admirable that she's still, like, gonna try and save herself. But yeah. And then finally, what I was saving for last is Jon Snow. Jon Snow is my other favorite character aside from Tyrion. Love me some Jon Snow. I mentioned earlier in my other vlog, I don't think Jon Snow is dead. For one reason, there's far, far too much story to tell with Jon Snow. Like, who's his mother? Who's his mother? Like, they could reveal it after he's dead, but it would be so much more dynamic to see and have him react to finding out the truth. And then the other reason is the way that he died. Like, he was being stabbed, kind of Caesar-esque, and he wasn't dead. He was dying. So it's totally possible that he'll live. Every time they end with a cliffhanger like that, the person never dies. Like Brienne, when she was about to be hung, she of course lived. And then Asha had her chapter where it looked like she was going to die. She of course lived. I feel like it only makes sense that Jon is still alive. If he would have died, I'm pretty sure we would have heard in the epilogue with Sir Kevan saying, oh, Jon Snow is dead, the wall is in chaos. I'm sure that's what would have happened. So, firmly believe that Jon Snow is still alive. And then, now that that's out of the way, I loved Jon's chapters. I love Jon. One of my other favorite parts of the book is when he killed Janos Slynt. Getting a little bit of revenge for his dad made me feel really, really good inside. When he was off to when he was gonna go take him to be hanged, I was all like, oh, you know, your dad probably would have did it himself, beheaded himself. And then immediately I had that thought, and then Jon had the thought right after me, and then he beheaded him with his own hand. I'm all like, oh, Ned would be so proud of you right now. Oh, my precious Jon Snow. Oh. And then the beginning kind of like made me nervous when I first started reading his chapters, and he was being very cold and mean towards everybody, and I was like, what's happened to my lovely, loyal, beautiful Jon Snow? And then he kind of talks about how Aeon told him how he had to change to become a leader and strong and don't let other people affect you. And I was like, oh, I completely understand now. I like all of Jon's chapters, I just wanted to give him a big hug because he was just faced so much things, all the stuff with the Wildling and Melisandre and Stannis' wife. Like, there's so much going on and so much stacked against him, and he's just doing the best that he can in his situation. Poor Jon Snow. A lot of the thing, I knew before I read the book that something bad was going to happen to Jon at the end. Like, kind of like the hype around the book, I knew that something bad happened to Jon Snow. So I was really, really worried that it would have something to do with Arya and him running off to save fake Jane Arya. But I was really glad the way that he was taken down at the end. Like, even if he does die, he'll die being true to himself, which I appreciate. But I was really worried he would, like, break his vows and try to go save fake Arya. I love his relationship with real Arya, and, like, I still remember with, like, fondness when he gives her needle in the first book. That was the first moment reading Game of Thrones where I just, like, felt love, and I just... it's kind of the thing that drew me into Game of Thrones first, is when he gave her needle. So I was so worried that it was going to be his downfall, him trying to save fake Arya, and then I was really worried that Ramsay would get a hold of him. I was so nervous, but the way that it ended with him, I appreciate it. I'm like, yes, if he does die, he's being true to himself in this moment. And then Melisandre also made me super nervous because we know he has a weakness for redheads, and so I was like, oh, don't let her manipulate you. And I was very, very nervous. All the stuff surrounding her, and then finally, the last thing, when Mance Rayder actually turned out to be alive. I really like that because I like Mance Rayder. And I appreciate, too, also the fact that when he fought him in the yard, he was fighting Mance, and that I feel better about him being beat by Mance because he was such a strong character. So I'm really glad that he got to live. I hate Melisandre slightly less than what I used to hate her, but I still don't like her. But yeah, no, Jon's still alive. And I've been talking for way too long, and I need to stop. And who knows if that recorded, but thanks. I don't think anyone watched all this, but that's okay. I appreciate it's for me. And then, oh my god, I can't believe I forgot. The most exciting thing about Dany in this whole book is in the fighting pits when Drogon shows up and then she jumps on Drogon and flies away. I was like, Dany's finally exciting again. And then she flies away and you don't see her for like another 100 pages. And then you see her again and she's back to being super boring. So that was a bummer, yeah. So... then this is really the end now, so goodbye.